Arnold Origi, goalkeeper for the Harambee Stars. Welcome to the JSO interview.
Thank you, John. It's an honor.
When the Kenyan team lost to Nigeria, you weren't in the team, but the rallying call was for a name change. Harambee had devilish connotations coming in from Hindi mythology, and this is why the team lost. If it changed its name, the devil would go away and you would win.
No,
do you agree?
No, I don't think that had anything to do with our loss on Saturday and the number of bad results that we've been experiencing in the past. I think it's all the reason is because of the poor structures that has been.
No, let's go back one. Are you yourself superstitious? Do you think that the name has the power to make a team lose?
Not at all, not at all. Because if the spiritual had anything to do in football, then at least one of the African countries would have won the World Cup. Because in Africa, there's the issue with the juju and all those kind of stuff. So I don't think the Harambee guy or the Harambee god had anything to do with our loss or the poor results that we've been experiencing in the past in the Harambee Stars. So,
sorry, I cut you short. What do you think was responsible? What do you think is responsible for our poor performance? I think it's just the poor structures that has been within the national team over a number of years in the past. But I think it's improving now. But I think the poor structures in and around the team in the past, this is one of the main reasons that the national team hasn't been able to pull desirable results in the past in the international matches. May I ask you to elaborate, to say poor structures could mean anything? There's lack of professionalism, the way the team is being handled from the equipment, to the traveling plans, to the diet, where we train, accommodation, all those kind of stuff. I must admit that it's improving, but a lot needs to be done, and I think this is what has been the major cause of the poor results. Because you've been a member of the national team. You're now 29, but you've been a member of the national team since you were 22. Yeah. So a good 7 years in a team which has poor structures, according to you. What can be done to improve that? I mean, it's as if you're complaining about the same thing, and you will continue to complain about the same thing for the next 20 years, and we'll always lose. No, I think if the structures, if the professionalism is not put in place in the team, then I think Harambee Stars we can forget winning international games and playing in the big international tournaments. But I must admit, as I said before, I think things are improving, step by step. But still, a lot needs to be done, because this is football, and it's not only on the pitch where the results can be achieved. Also out of the pitch, this is off the pitch. The small details of the pitch plays a huge role in helping a team achieve good results. I want to take you back to the fact that you are in fact a professional player in Norway, to be precise. You play for a team called Lillestrøm. I hope I've got the pronunciation right. And you've been playing professionally elsewhere. Talking about structures, what could we emulate here in Kenya that you experience in Norway? First of all, I think the welfare of the players need to be protected and looked at, because I think the players, for example, in the local league, the KPL, the players are the major actors in the league. Without the players, the league is nothing. So the players should be protected, and the governing board, the governing body in the country should implement rules or structures that protect the welfare of the players. Case in example, recently 6 players in a KPL club were offloaded because the club all of a sudden realized that they don't need the player services cause of performance. They decided to terminate the contract. This is not normal. This doesn't happen, for example, in Lillestrøm. This doesn't happen. The normal procedure, of course, during the season, a club can realize that they made a bad signing in signing the player, and the player is not what they thought he was, and therefore decide to terminate the contract. But the normal procedure would be sit down with the player, explain to him, why are we offloading you? We don't need your services, you're not in our future plans. Then discuss a compensation
but instead of just saying, okay, we don't need your services, this is where it ends, and just letting the player go. This is not normal. So such kind of things also goes to improve them and improve the morale of players and make them perform better, and it will go a long way in improving the game.
So you're saying people are being sacked, are being without respect for contracts.
Yeah.
And contracts mean next to nothing in our Kenyan game.
You can put it that way, because sacking players, this happens everywhere in the world, in the footballing world. Like clubs realize, maybe sign a player, then later realize that this is not the player we signed, or he didn't live to the expectations, and therefore they sit down with the player and say, hey, look, you're not in our plans, and we want to offload you. But they do it in a more respectable way. They respect the contract, because if you reverse the roles and the case becomes like the player performing well, and then better clubs or bigger clubs are interested in the player, the club will demand a transfer fee, if you like to say compensation fee for the player. So I think if the roles should be the same. If the player, if the club can demand a transfer fee on a good player who decides to go to a bigger and better club.
Exactly.
Yeah, the role should be reversed. When they decide that the player is not good enough for the club, then they should compensate his contract, and instead of just firing and say, okay, look, this is where it ends.
Understood. I'd like to personalize things a bit, because you yourself, I mean, things will become clear if we look at your own career. There's information here to suggest that you come from a major footballing family. Your father, Austin Odwor, played for Gor Mahia. You have uncles, Gerald and Anthony Origi, who played for Tusker. You have an uncle who was a professional footballer in Belgium. Your brother Divock plays for Lille in the French league. How, of all the positions on the pitch, did you end up being a goalkeeper? Because looking at your physique, it seems to me that you should be running, I don't know, the 100-yard dash or something.
No, my career as a goalkeeper actually happened by coincidence, not by choice. I remember it started in 1995. I used to live in Dandora, and we were playing in the Maisa League. I was an outfield player, I was a striker for the club, and the captain for my team. And
right. We just might qualify that Maisa standing for Mathare Youth Sports Association.
Right.
So that you were playing
for Maisa, in the Maisa League, and my club was called Young Mighties. Our goalkeeper performed poorly in his end of term exam. So he was grounded by his parents.
Right.
He was not allowed to come and play. So we had no goalkeeper, and being the captain, so I had to bite the bullet. I didn't want to, but I had to, because I felt like it was my responsibility. So I played the game, and I don't know if it is luck or whatever. There was some Meister scouts watching the match, and they decided to invite me for the trials for the Norway Cup, because they usually travel to the Norway Cup. The under-12s, they travel to the Norway Cup. So I was invited for the trials. I went to the trials. I did well, and I made the trip. I made the trip to the Norway Cup, and thereon, the rest is history.
Right. Okay, so you're trying to suggest that in the best of all possible worlds, you might be one of the strikers for which Kenya yearns.
It's funny, because at times I sit down and think that I would have been a striker. Sometimes, if I could turn back the hands of time, yes. I wouldn't bite the bullet. Yes. This time. I was okay. No, I don't care. Let somebody else do it. I want to be a striker, and maybe just follow my career as a striker.
Norway, a country which is far, far away. I've never been to Norway. I have visions of it being large, lots of ice, cold, for much of the time. You find yourself in totally alien circumstances. What does this do for you as a young man? I mean, how do you cope? We now read in health magazines that there is such a thing as homesickness. It's an illness. It can turn people to suicide. How do you cope?
You have it right, because Norway is a huge country. It's a beautiful country, yes, but it's cold. It's very cold, and homesickness is an issue. It's a big illness, and because you miss everything from the food to speaking the language, so you Swahili, my language, to just being with my family, being with my friends. You miss all that, and for you to be able to cope with this, thing, you have to be goal oriented. You have to know why you're in Norway, in this cold country, why you're there, why you have to look back and try to revisit the reason that you boarded that plane to Oslo, and that is to make a career out of football in Europe and play in the top major league. So you have to be goal oriented for you to be able to cope with this homesickness. Otherwise, you won't make it, because it's quite difficult. It's tough, because a lot of people think it's a bed of roses being in Europe, and they think you play in Europe, you being paid well, and you living in a good country, in a European country, well developed country, but it's not a bed of roses. It's difficult, because the things that you take for granted when you're here in Kenya, the moment they've been taken away from you, down up there in Norway, that's when you realize that how important it is. That's when you realize how important your small sister is, your brother, your mother, your father. That's how you realize how delicious ugali is.
Nyama choma,
mtura, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.